So I'm sorry, I'm not the CMO of Volkswagen, but ironically, this is crazy because there was a woman who was the CMO of Volkswagen. She was my first client when I moved to Boston. And Mike Law, who's now my boss, who was then my assistant, we worked on Volkswagen together with her. She has since obviously left and she's on a board and just signed us to be her agency for the new client she's working on. So it's like a full circle CMO Volkswagen moment.
This is what I love about the media industry,
Right?
is it's so small and connected.
It's crazy.
But wait, your assistant is now your boss?
Yes. And I couldn't be happier. So be nice to everybody. Be kind. Literally the best moment of full circle career moment.
I love that. Carrie, Chief Investment Officer at Carat. Talk to a little bit about your background. Like, what do you focus on over at Carat, and what's your remit?
I've been there for 6 months.
So you know everything.
Yes, I am trying to figure out my remit, but I was brought over to focus on Carat clients and bringing their investment to the next level, understanding their consumers, understanding how to really dive in and go beyond just this buying data stack that we're in and create some meaningful outcome-driven relationships.
So we've talked a lot about like what moving from a channel-based to a platform-based mindset means. Like what does that actually look like? How does that shift in today's landscape?
So I'm very high on this, from channels to platforms. And we talked about it last week, and I gave Erin a fun fact, which I'll give to all of you. So we all use pie charts for our channel planning, which says Prime or CTV. The pie chart was invented in 1801. 1801. Is that crazy? I mean, we still use the pie chart. We have data, we have tech, and we still use this pie chart. So it just blows my mind. So it really, again, you opened up by saying the way we buy linear is so different. We are not buying, I mean, we are, some people, the collective we, Prime, daytime. We have to understand the platforms that our consumers are using, our audiences are on, and then dive into those platforms. We buy on platforms. We buy an NBCU, we buy a Google, and then we dive in on where the audiences are. We have to change the narrative from these day part channels to really the platform and understand how we can most effectively dive in on the platform and do what's best for our clients and our business.
Does that also apply to audio? Where does that come into the mix?
Oh, I love a good audio. And I was just talking about this morning. So I've been obsessed with audio. So how many people here have watched a podcast on YouTube? Right?
That is actually more than I thought.
So I said this morning, I actually think of it, it's like the 60 Minutes of our generation, because it's these engaging conversations that you're actually watching. I watch podcasts all the time. I saw a stat, it's the podcasts are most watched on YouTube. So, and again, I just had this conversation this morning. I won't say who with, but audio to me is so fascinating because it's being watched, podcasts on social. I just saw, I do listen to Kylie Kelsey, and she posts on Instagram and her clips get 1 million views. It's wild, right? 1 million video views on social. So suddenly audio is social, audio is video, and audio is audio. So when we're looking at our modeling, and then we talked about this morning, if you have a podcast read, it still comes through on YouTube when you're watching it, but you're also getting the break, but you're getting the read, but that's not being counted in the measurement. So it's lost, but it's so powerful. And it's authentic because the reads are like influencer, which I know we chatted about a little bit. So I don't know where it fits, but I think it fits stronger and smarter than we know yet today.
So as you look across all the different platforms that you could invest in, what's your grading criteria? Like, what do you look for before you hand over that check?
I think it really depends. It's so client specific because it depends where they are in the funnel. It depends where their consumers are in their journey. It depends what type of audience they have, where that audience lives, how they consume. If you're young, youth, children, there and skip. Where can you reach their parents in the best way? So it's definitely not uniform. It has to be client specific. It has to be outcome specific, and it has to be where they are in their journey of the funnel. So we talked a little bit about, is it brand, is it performance, and what do we do to get there to create the best outcomes?
Are there tools or resources that you use to really dive into all of those details about the platform?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many tools. There's so much measurement. Anyone on the buy side will tell you every seller comes in and tells you they're number one on their metric, on their sales, and as you should, because you're in sales. So I think the tools depend, the tech, the data, the validity of it, understanding what the outcome will be if you use it is truly a testament to if it's successful or not. So I think we have to believe what everybody shares, but I think we can only then follow the path of what works.
And to see what works, like how long are you waiting to see what works before pivoting or making a change in your strategy?
That's a great question. I mean, if it's bottom of the funnel, you can do it immediately, right? Like the data and tech allows us to do that immediately. But I think we have been in probably a 5-year push down the funnel. And I think a lot of that brand money that, it depends if your client is procurement or creative or truly depends on where you'll be in that funnel, I think. And I think a lot of clients went down the funnel. We're missing that brand part. And so we're starting to see more brand determined, and that takes time. You can do brand awareness and you can do search queries, and there's so much you can do, but it really depends where you are in the funnel, and how immediate you want to respond to it is where you want to take your business.
Do you think we've gone ditch to ditch in this moving from branding to performance?
I think we've created a cylinder, not a funnel for a lot of clients. I think we're we're like this. And there's a lot of media that can be full funnel. But I think we've gone too far down because building a brand is so important, especially for the next generation to have this, I won't name brands because I'm not sure everybody that's here, but I have a toothpaste that I am going to use no matter what. And that's what I was brought up on. And that's the brand that I have the affinity for. So there's some products, but I think if I'm in the market for a car, do I have this brand affinity? Is there something that I believe in that has my ethos, that has what I need as a consumer, as a human, as, for my systems value?
Do you believe video is inherently a brand push or a performance play?
I actually think CTV is fully both. I think some video is fully performance, and I think some video is fully brand. So I think yes and no. Full mixed
Spoken
answer.
like a true politician, Carrie.
Yeah,
yes
mixed
and no.
answer. I don't think it's. I can't pigeonhole it because I think it depends where it is, how you use it, and what the creative message is.
We're going to talk a lot about the Super Bowl this week, about live experiences, staying culturally relevant. It's paramount into everything that we do. So how do you optimize your platform partnerships to go beyond just like the placement or impression of the buy itself?
So, Carat is very big on culture and culture EQ, and there's some news coming out this week, so I was told I can't say too much about it, but there are ways that we can measure culture for certain clients, and there are metrics that we use to determine what culture means to a brand and where they want to fit into it. So we're working on some measurement platforms with partners, with media partners, as well as internally, determine the culture metric that we can use going forward to go beyond just the audience, because again, it has to resonate. We don't want the little kids saying skip or no ad or cry.
Yeah.
We'd like it to be in a platform where they're watching, and my kids will call me and say, I saw the coolest ad. I'm always like, yes, they watched. My older ones are in their 20s, so I can appreciate that. Although sometimes they probably cry and say skip too. So
Don't we all?
Yeah, very true.
You used an interesting phrase, culture metric, right? Is that attention that you're measuring, or like how do you translate that to sales?
I mean, it's many things. It's sharing, it's social conversation, it's search, it's bookmarks, it's revisit. So you can attribute it to the brand affinity that someone will have, and how that because again, brands that are part of culture do better. Yeah. It's just like fact. So there's many metrics that go in, and it's again not siloed. It has to be, culture for a sneaker brand is very different than culture for a car brand, in terms of where they want to fit in culture and what statement they want to make. So there's a lot of metrics that can be used to measure along the journey to help create, it's like a recipe, creating what's right for that particular client.
In your mind, is there one metric that kind of rises above the all?
I mean, we talked about this, like social, like I think social sharing. I mean, the metric to me that rises above them all is like friend-to-friend marketing. So that's not a real metric, but I believe there's nothing better than when a friend tells you to do something. I feel like you go do it, and whether that's a real friend or an influencer that you think is your friend. But to me, that's the best metric. It's sharing. So however that manifests itself, or whatever form that takes.
So are you thinking about ways to optimize your media to allow that sharing to happen, make it easier to share.
Yes. Not only shareable content, but also are people retweeting? I know it's not the word, or sharing, or passing
Re-Xing just
along,
sounds
or
weird.
forwarding. Yes. Or can we find consumers that live in the same bubble and they're sort of starting to share the same thing? I mean, this again, they're going to announce a whole bigger thing. This isn't part of it, but to me, that is my own experience. But again, there are valid metrics that we can use to understand the power of culture and getting involved with culture beyond just airing. And I think the media partners, if this is your KPI, if this is your objective, and you're doing something beyond a commercial or not, I think it's incumbent on the media partners to create relevant content that should be shareable and should be viewed or listened to or whatever it is. And if they can make your brand part of it, that's even better.
If culture is one of the key themes that we're going to be discussing today, AI is going to be another one, right? And we're at kind of an interesting juxtaposition between like AI-driven media buying to make it more efficient, but still needing a human to make those connections, to create that content, making it engaging. So how do you see these two forces playing together in the future?
It's wild to me, like coming out of CES, everything was AI. And I think, we've all been using AI in our business. Obviously, data and tech is, founded on the principles are using AI and data and technology. But everyone was talking about AI at CES and saying, 10% of what you see here, you'll see out in the world, and 10% of these conversations will come to fruition. But then everyone was talking about influencer, like we talked about. And influencer, in theory, is this authentic human connection. Now, I know influencers can reach you through data and tech, through AI, but who they are is completely juxtaposed to an AI tool or technology. So to me, it's so fascinating and I think influencer was also a buzzword and continues to be. I think every client that we're talking to or that we're hearing from, what's your influencer strategy? How are you going to do influencer? And what's your AI strategy? So it's fascinating to me, the juxtaposition of the two, something truly authentic and then something that's completely machine driven. So it's a wild time.
I mean, do you even think that like AI and Chat GPT can become influencers too?
Copilot, because I do Microsoft as a client. Yes, I think they will influence the decisions that we make. And look, and again, I don't want to get into the search world, but you see it. Like if you go and search, the first thing you're starting to see is
Is Gemini.
Yes. And so that once consumers start to pick up on that, just like you do with everything else, they'll start to but you're starting to see it completely changing the way that we're searching and finding and communicating. So it's wild.
We are coming up on the upfronts, right?
Mhm.
The most magical time of year for TV and video buyers. It's like our
Mhm.
Disneyland. How has AI impacted the upfront process?
Is it our Disneyland or is it our
If it is
worst
our
nightmare?
Disneyland, we are in a wow. We have done something wrong.
I think every agency, and I think even people I've spoken to in the past couple weeks are using AI, data and tech to help build tools to help find audiences and do it in a more efficient, faster, effective way. And that's what clients are asking. That's what we're seeking. So I think we'll see every partner come in with their new data and tech, AI that will help that. And I think every agency is building models that incorporates a form of AI. I know Amazon just released their new AI tool last week, I think. So I think that will, whether they call it AI or they call it data and tech, I think it will be part of every solution we're starting to see for both buyers and sellers.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, they're not replacing jobs. They're making it more efficient, right? Or do you think they're replacing jobs?
I think there's, I don't know. Like I still see Excel sheets that take people weeks and weeks. And I'm like, why can't we do this with AI? So I think we all still, fall into that. I think some of the manual process, ideally long-term, will be AI, and that will help actually make the investors or the sellers better at their jobs because they're focusing on cool products and cool ideas and cool conversations, not Excel sheets.
Yeah.
So I think it may eliminate tedious manual jobs, but hopefully help make us better and smarter and more engaged.
Because at the end of the day, it's only AI is only as good as the input that you give it,
Mhm.
and that still has to come from a human who understands kind of the consumer and the marketing side of things,
Yeah,
right?
I asked AI recently, like about like trends on CTV or something, or maybe it was a live sport event, and it quoted like Dan Lovinger from like 7 years ago, and I said, just so you know, when you ask, or the CTV stats were from like 5 years ago. So I don't know if it's on us because we're not giving it the right information, but it's certainly not a predictive, or it doesn't help us look forward and be better and smarter. And it's hard at this time in our business for some real insights. I think that's what we're missing. Like I think it can give us a lot of observations. I don't think it can give us insights, and insights are what we need to all be better at our jobs.
That's a great line. It can give us observations, not insights. The critical thinking and how to apply them is still lost on it.
Very lost. It's a lost art in general, because we're overloaded with observations. And so I always want that insight, because I can read and read, but what does it mean? Or what do you think it means? Just to even have a conversation about it.
So excluding live sports or events, we've talked about like something like 70% of monetizable impressions are coming from digital, right? Like that is a huge shift. So how should we rethink our approach to TV buying, knowing that so much has shifted to digital?
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, when you look at, again, long tail cable, I think, when you look at the monetizable amount of impressions that are on linear, like you said, it's 30%, and then the 70% is sold, mostly digitally. And so I think you have to think about how you're investing in the deals that you're creating with partners and with platforms. So if you're buying, an audience, how much of that is linear and how much of that is digital through the linear content on the screen, but really create these audience platform first deals that help you be better and smarter. And I don't know. I mean, I see all these stats on DVRs. I just don't believe them. Like, is anyone
Like what?
here using a DVR? Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, I don't think it's like 40% or something like the number that they say, but like with streaming and with, again, with on demand and streaming, it's amazing to me. So, well, so again,
These are my elder millennials
yeah,
right here.
no,
right?
it's
We're
good
all
to
on the
know.
same.
It's good to know.
I see Bayer right there.
Yeah,
I see you.
it's good to know. And again, the problem with DVRs too in our world, maybe it's a self-fulfilling prophecy as you can fast forward. So maybe I don't want to believe anyone's using a DVR, because I feel like if it's streaming or VOD, you have to watch the commercials. So maybe it's a self-fulfilling prophecy of we don't want it to be part of it.
What are some of the biggest mistakes that we can make by applying a traditional TV approach to digital platforms?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, a traditional TV approach would be locking in 70% and not having it be fluid or flexible. So, and the beauty of digital, that has evolved. So, I think that is number one. Um, but I think, the beauty of the upfront, or the reason it works, is because it provides value, and it should create something beyond just the investment, something that you create that's special or unique, and whether that's value or content, or testing or whatever it is. So that would be good if it translated. But I think, again, having that fixed amount and not being able to move it around or optimize the legacy TV upfront, that needs to change.
There's this kind of push or philosophy need that we have to be on every single channel. Right. We have to create content for every single channel. We have to optimize video for 3, 6, 15, and 30-second and 10-minute form content. Right. It's this like 360 marketing campaign. Do you believe that's the right approach?
No, I think it's super client specific and it's super campaign specific. And again, if you're looking at a pharma ad versus a sneaker ad versus a trailer, it really depends, meaning a trailer for a show or a movie. So I think it's super important to understand where the consumer is consuming, where the audience is consuming the content, because it should make sense. I mean, there's nothing worse than like if you're watching on your phone and you're getting an ad that clearly wasn't designed for it and you can't see it, or it's off, or but so no, but yes, meaning understand the audience, understand the platform, if you can speak to them in that language with that voice. But I think it's super specific, and it might work. If it's a trailer, it has to be a trailer everywhere. But if it's a pharma, or which has its own rules and regulations, but if it's a QSR, like, do you just need a QR code because they're about to order, or do you need a menu item that's should it be super visual? Like, it just depends. I think there's no uniform answer on that.
I mean, it kind of feels like we overcomplicate things.
We
right?
do. We sure do.
So how do we simplify?
Oh, I wish I knew. I don't know. I think, and we talked a little bit about this. I think we're in a world too where, I'd love to get from channels to platforms. I think media mix modeling, given the legacy of it and given how impactful it is on business, because it is a great driver, but media mix modeling doesn't translate to the new world yet. So maybe if we can create a better world where we're seeing outcomes, true business results, we could tie that directly back. I think maybe that would help simplify it, but I don't see it getting simpler anytime soon. It's a lot. There's a lot going on and a lot to know, and a lot of insights that we all need to help each other with to be better and smarter.
And I know that you want to move away from the impression, right? Or at least that metric to say the impression was served. But what do you look at, or how do you know that you're not spreading yourself too thin across all media channels or oversaturating your audience because you're hitting them 15 different ways till Sunday?
That's a huge problem. I mean, as we know, frequency capping is a huge problem. Creative messaging, I know we just heard like about getting the wrong language. I think this is the problem too. You're being told that the data and tech is in place, or and it's not. I mean, I don't have a cat. I don't like cats. I love dogs, and I've been getting the same cat litter ad for like 2 weeks straight served on my video. It's wild to me. So I would say, oh, there's tools and tech, but I don't know. I don't know if they're there yet. So I think you have to look at where your media is, where your business results are, and what your outcomes are, because that's the only way. It's incumbent upon us as the agency, the clients, the tools to really determine what's working. And if I just saw a media mix model for a category, I don't want to say what. And I was like, is this the same? Because I've seen it on 6 different clients. And someone said, no, actually this category, and their media mix model was really different, and actually their business is killing it. So, it's working. So again, if you have the tools that show you it's working, then you have to go on your business. At the end of the day, is your business doing well?
Right. And so with all the different channels out there, like how do you think about attribution when everything is so fragmented?
That's hard too. I mean, again, there's tools and tech to, last click, and there's a lot of very specific tools and tech that you can look at that will tell you someone clicked, someone went to the site, someone ordered, someone purchased, they came back. So again, that all goes into media mix model. But it's the brand stuff. It's the brand stuff that scares me. I'm like a big brand person at heart, and I love good brand creative, and I love good TV moments. I still do. And that's hard to measure long term. And to that point, if the funnel becomes a cylinder and long term you're not filling it, you're not bringing it in, you'll feel it long term. I don't think that's a quick. I mean, look, there's a lot of data you can see if someone watched and went online and watched and searched. So yes, but creating a brand doesn't have dynamic measurement, and that's okay. Yeah. I think that's okay.
Carrie, we talked about AI, we talked about the Super Bowl, we talked about measurement, we talked about staying culturally relevant. What's one thing you think we're just not talking about enough?
Oh, that's a good question. Insights. I really don't think we're talking enough about insights, and I wish we talked more about big brand. But I think insights helping us together create greater insights from all these observations. And again, bring the funnel back. I mean, I don't know when the funnel was invented. I'm guessing it was after 1801, but
was it before or after the pie chart?
Yeah, exactly. The pie chart, 1801, William Playwright. So again, I'm guessing it was around then. So maybe I'm like contradicting myself, but really, I believe in brand to performance, but I believe that we are in a world where performance can be brand. So really finding that perfect mix would be the secret sauce.
Last question before we'll open it up to the audience. If you had to place a bet on the future of video, where would that be?
Meaning,
where do you really think we are going to succeed when it comes to video advertising?
I think CTV. I think the best experiences are in content, longer form content, doesn't have to be long, but engaged, right? It's impressions that impress, and every agency has their own lingo. But I think in content where consumers are leaned in, their attention, and they have a moment. Again, this is being part of culture. So if you're part of a show or a program or a moment or even a longer video where you're resonating and you're relevant, ideally, you're not serving cat litter to someone that doesn't have a cat, even if it's, watching a podcast. So I think the opportunity to have longer form and having those meaningful relationships to build the brand would be great. And also on the flip side, like having the data and tech to know who you're reaching at that time, because they're a market for something, and dynamically, and then you can get them to transact. Like, so it's like beautiful. It's like art. It's both.
I lied. You said long form content, but not too long. How do you define long form
I knew
content?
You were gonna ask me that. I got to be careful. I mean, I don't. We've talked a lot about this. I mean, for me personally, and again, this is just for me personally. I think if it's over like 5 minutes or within 5, I think if it's 30. Look, I watch videos. I skip ad just like your daughter. I cry and click. I'm like, no. But I think if I'm engaged in something and there is a break and I understand, like, it's going. And again, I think to your point, like my kids and maybe your kids too, there are certain shows or platforms they know they can't skip. And so if you know that and you're expecting it, you're hopefully leaned in. So I think it would be an amount of time that's acceptable not to have to skip. And what that is, I mean, in my head, I say 5 minutes, but I don't know.
It still feels like a long time in the media world. Yeah. Let's open it up to questions from the group. Please introduce yourself, who you are and what company you're with when you ask a question.
And you need to ask a question, or Erin will call on you, and you're going to be very annoyed. Oh, here we go. Okay, run back and run into the back of the room. I was going to say Ryan. Ryan's got one. Tell us who you are. Where you from?
Hi, Carrie. Ryan Spicer from Atmosphere TV.
Hi, Ryan.
Wonderful to see you today.
Nice to. I can't see you, but wonderful to hear you.
I sense tension between
probably,
the two of you.
No, we go way back.
No tension there.
Dear friends.
Something you said earlier when you guys started chatting was really interesting about influencers being friends, right? Or a perception of a friend. And joke aside, how do you think about the relative value of an influencer who might not necessarily be a celebrity versus your traditional celebrity? Because historically, right, like get a celebrity, they have an influence on a brand. Is it more valuable to have an influencer who you perceive to be a friend now, as opposed to a celebrity who might come with that?
Yeah, I mean, I am a big victim of, I've clicked on many of Instagram ads. I just ordered vitamins this morning, and she is not a celebrity, whoever I got this ad from, and nor is she a friend, but she was speaking to me about something so I don't think an influencer has to be a celebrity. I think they have to be speaking to you about something that's relevant to you, that might be relevant to you, to create that action. So yeah, I have a magnesium vanilla pouch coming to my house tomorrow that I'm going to put in my coffee. So hopefully that is good for my travels.
It wasn't cat litter.
No, it was not cat litter.
As I walk, we have a dog and 2 cats. We own that cat box that you're talking about.
I'm sorry.
Mechanical
again,
one.
No disrespect to cats.
No, it's
I'm just
pretty amazing.
not a cat person. I have lots of friends that are.
That's very fair. I have no pets and I get a lot of pet ads, so I feel you on that. I'm Molly Leffler. I work at Discover. One question, as we are approaching upfront season, what is your take on the balance of, a traditional upfront buy with working directly with the networks and purchasing in a more data-led way with some of the partners who are able to access that same inventory? Do you balance both? Do you have a preference, or how do you navigate that as we approach?
I mean, full stop, balance both. I think, this upfront will be very interesting given the state of the economy and what we're hearing, and the erosion. Look, it's the supply and demand. The economics of supply and demand have always been the catalyst to the upfront. And I think there's some clients that still want linear. And so if you need these moments, I think that will push you to have to do some upfront. And I'm sure that will be packaged with other things. But long-winded answer, both. You can't lock everything in, and I think you always should be open to many other opportunities, channels, partnerships, because again, you won't know what the models only tell you what happened in the past. They can't tell you what happened in the future, and unless you start partnering with new partners, you're never going to make it. You won't know what the next big thing is.
John, I've lost you in the light. I
I'm
have
back
no
here.
idea.
We've got one
more question.
Hey, morning, guys. Nick Konolakis from Kate and AdTheorent. Hi, Carrie. Quick question for you. You mentioned the importance of insights and something that's really valuable for you guys. 2 questions. What types of insights are you looking for? And who's providing, or who would you like to provide those insights? Publishers? Is it the brands?
I'll
the
take it
partners, et
from
cetera?
anywhere. I think we, as a collective industry, we need to share insights. I am looking for an insight that's media actionable, I think, or helps me be better or helps the client be smarter. I'll give an example, and this was just a story that I heard recently. It was, I won't say what client it was, but they had this insight. Actually, this is a full circle moment that a lot of gamers have cats. Again, cats is like this theme because because cats are easier to take care of. You don't have to let them out, and so this company started advertising their cat product on gaming and had tremendous success. So it was this insight of cats, gamers. Again, crazy cat lady today, apparently. But so that's a great insight. That was media actionable and changed the trajectory of their business. But I'll take an insight from anywhere.
Carrie, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
kicking us off today.